on the mental level as well, right? Your mind automatically goes into that default mode of worry and stress because you're kind of using your lower mind that is all about survival. And so our subconscious memories are the filter.
Right.
And we look out in the world, and right away, that situation, which wouldn't bother you at all, makes me go crazy. Well, why? I don't even realize I'm doing it. So yoga gives us these tools that allow us to pause in the moment and maybe make another choice that would be a better thing to do. And then once we do that repetitively over time, that becomes our new pattern. And then it's something positive replacing the negative.
Right.
But it takes a lot of time. It takes consistency. It takes real devotion to it, right?
Yeah.
And I think, too, what comes up from that is that it's the process of letting go of old patterns, not creating some new improved version of yourself, but to get rid of the stuff that keeps you from being all of who you actually already are.
Right.
Right? And so while you slow down the mind, you start to realize that there's more to you than that, because how could you be watching the mind if you were the mind, right? So it's just a process.
Yeah.
But as things become clearer over time, I think that's why when someone comes to a yoga class because they know it's a good workout, or they love the music and the whole community thing, which is all great, suddenly they're going, wait a minute. Something else is going on here.
Right.
Right? Like this is carrying over into my life. And it's the repetition, it's the patterning, it's the being present, it's the cueing of the teacher that helps you do that. It's the energy of the teacher. You know, all of that comes into play. So,
well, and that made me think about when I was first introduced to yoga. I was training for a marathon, and this was early 2000s, and some of the people I worked with were like, hey, there's a yoga class. You should come and stretch. It'll help you train. And I had kind of heard that before in some circles. So I thought, okay, I'll check it out. And I went to the class, and again, there weren't, Cityoga had barely been open. There was maybe three other studios around town. And but I wasn't really aware of them, and I found this class so I went to it, and right off the bat I could sense there was something more going on here than stretching, and in a very positive way, because I had been a long time meditator, and so I like there's like really something very meditative and a focus inward, and he was teaching from a place of non-competitiveness and non-judgment. So it felt very like you can just come and show up the way you are. Right. And it felt, I hate to use the cliche, safe environment, but I wasn't going there with a lot of apprehension. So I felt pretty open and safe, if you will. And interesting side note is the teacher, her name was Fran Valentine, and turned out she had just done her teacher training at Cityoga.
Oh, how funny. Yeah.
So it must have been one of the very early classes.
Oh, yeah.
That was going on here. And I kind of trying to think where I was going with that, other than I was going to ask you what is it about teaching today after seeing a lot of things change and evolve, and what is it about your classes that you teach on a regular basis today that you really enjoy?
Well, I guess it's hard to answer that because I've had the same students for a lot of years. Yeah. Some of my students have been with me 21 years now. So, wow. It's kind of hard to know what's the new thing coming in as far as the weekly classes for me. I do have still a couple of corporate classes, but I do think people are certainly more educated than they used to be coming in. They know what yoga is. It's not scary to them. They've read about the stress-reducing aspects of yoga, and so they have a different level of ease about coming in. I think before there was a lot of fear about, ooh, I'm a Christian. I don't know if it's okay if I can do yoga. You know, that's Hindu. Like I used to have to call it stretch and de-stress. I couldn't even call it yoga.
Wow.
You know, because it was like, ugh, what's that? That's weird. You know, what does that mean? Is that going against my principles and my beliefs? You know,
it's so funny.
Yeah. So that's changed dramatically. But my students are there, I think, to just chill out, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I've got seniors mostly. I think my youngest student right now is probably 40 in any of my classes, even my corporate, you know, maybe a little younger in some cases, but it's just like, oh, could we go right to the deep relaxation? I'm like, no, you got to earn that. You know? Yeah. And it's, you know, and they enjoy just moving their bodies, you know.
Well, that stress, I mean, people know they're under stress, and the anxiety levels and all these things are, you know, really acknowledged as almost a new norm, that everybody's stressed. So it makes sense that they're just like, just come and let me release some stress.
Yeah. And I think too that before there was a culture, I can't remember the years, I wouldn't know how to pinpoint that, but 80s, 90s, where people would kind of wear their stress like a badge of honor.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so stressed. It's like, I'm so important. You know, it's like, oh my God. And I want to go, well, then do something about it.
Right.
Don't think I'm impressed that you're stressed.
Yeah.
Right. And now it's like, they know it's their responsibility to do something. We know through reading, through media, stress is very, very bad for you.
Yeah.
Very bad. It's worse than all other conditions put together. It really is. And so they know they have to release that.
Well, and we've known that for a long time. It's just that recently we're talking about it.
Yeah.
Because I think back to when I was in college in 1985. I had a stress management class, and it was it talked about here are life situations that our studies show are create a lot of stress, with like moving,
right, new job,
birth, death,
divorce,
marriage, divorce, like these big life changes, new job, are create these big stressors. And the things about exercise was stress relieving. Food, like diet and lifestyle.
Yep.
And we actually had to keep a food journal and a sleep journal. And so like all these factors, and at that time they've been well researched. And so it wasn't information that this wasn't readily available, but people of that time were thriving on stress.
Oh, yeah.
In a weird way.
Yeah.
And whether it's climbing the corporate ladder or you know, technology was on the horizon, and it's like,
and a competitive consumer culture.
Yeah.
You know, now I did my first trainings in stress management before I went into yoga. Not before I was 17 doing yoga, but for the idea that this has helped me. I need stress management. This is what people need. I worked in the corporate world. I know that. So I went and became a stress management consultant. I went to a lot of these seminars on stress, and I also was doing yoga. And it kind of was like, wait a minute, they're missing something here. They're not embodying this work. It's like, check, check, check. Yes, I moved, I got divorced, but they're not even putting value on that. You could get divorced and it could be very traumatic and draining, or you could get divorced and want to throw a party.
Right.
So it's all about what value do you put on it? And paying attention to that, and not just saying I'm stressed because this is happening, but like, wait a minute, what's my belief about what's happening? A little deeper dig. And yoga offered that. And it also was the idea that your body registers stress before your mind even knows you're stressed.
Right.
So let's work through the body to get to the mind. There's yoga asana, right? And so that all became like, oh, wait a minute, this is the true stress release.
Yeah.
Get it out of your body first. This automatically shifts your energy, quiets your mind, using the breath, all these things that yoga offers. So it's a complete package.
You were so far ahead of your time.
Oh, I'm a trailblazer, baby. No, it's just what was happening to me, you know?
Yeah, but you had the wherewithal to recognize that. Like, this is like, there's a lot going on here that's beneficial for people that people aren't connecting the dots with.
Yeah.
It sound from what you described. And that, when I think about listening to you today about asking people to dig a little deeper, not, directly, but where'd that belief come from?
Right.
Like asking these questions that allow people to dig deeper and then bringing up these awareness and then making the mind-body connection.
Mm-hmm.
And, we talk about neuroplasticity and all, how our brains can change and how sort of going back to that samskara concept of like, that's neuroplasticity. And
absolutely.
That's ancient text.
Yeah. How did those guys know that, huh?
They knew human behavior.
And that's all it is. And it has never changed. We were just doing our sutra study with the teacher training last night. And it's like, this is the same thing as this going on right now. It's just about being a human being. Mm-hmm. And yoga gives you tools to be healthier, to be happier, to navigate your life better. Yes, the postures are good for your body. Yes, you'll be more fit. And maybe you'll lose some weight or whatever the hell you're in there for. But there's more here.
Right.
Which is much more important. Right?
Yeah.
But yeah, questioning your beliefs, questioning your attitudes. Why do I even have that thought? Where did that thought come? The thoughts just are there.
Mm-hmm.
They're floating around in there. Where'd they come from? Where do they go? Right? There's something bigger here. And that's when you get into the other digging deeper is, if I'm not my body and I'm not my mind and my thoughts, what am I? Who am I? What is that all about?
Yeah.
And having a sense of that, which is namaste, right? That's the light. That's the deeper person that you are.
Mm-hmm.
Spirit expressing through you.
Yeah.
Right? And that's all good. That's where we want to go because that's giving positive energy pretty much to everything.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and that sense of connection with everything.
Yeah.
Like, we're really not separate.
Yeah, you're just, there was a saying, you're another version of me. It's like we're just other versions of each other. The waves in the ocean and all that. It's like, those are nice concepts, but until you really feel that within yourself, it's just a concept.
Mm-hmm.
But once you do feel it, it actually gives meaning to everything.
Yeah.
You don't have to, I hate the thing of find your purpose because it's like, I don't have to justify that I have some purpose.
Right.
Like there's a reason for me to be here that I have to justify to somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Just have, just bring meaning into every moment. That's enough of a purpose.
Well, and that's, I think I read something very similar to that from one of my teachers, Sadhguru Jaggi Vasudev, was talking about kind of throwing out that idea of finding your purpose, of just like your purpose is to exist.
Right. Isn't that enough?
Now, like fully exist with what you're doing, who you're doing with. I mean, just it was really this idea of everything that you're talking about.
And I think that's what happens if you're doing this and you're doing it for a while, that just comes to you.
Mm-hmm.
You get that. You realize it.
Yeah.
Like your past is your past and you have a story and you have experiences, but that doesn't affect how you're showing up to me right now unless you're just being super present.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of created who you are and all that, but not really.
Yeah.
You were something before your problems.
Mm-hmm.
That's who you want to continue to be. I mean, I think for me, I feel more me now than I did between the time I was probably 3 and now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you put on all these personalities and these faces and these labels, and then pretty soon you kind of go, that doesn't feel good. That doesn't feel good. I don't, whatever. And then you're like, you kind of feel like more of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're more aware of the stuff that still needs to be processed.
Right.
More than ever. Like, really? Am I still doing this?
Yeah.
Or why do I feel so bad right now?
Well, and I think that's when you hit that point where those old patterns don't have the same power or charge over. You're like, right.
There it is.
That thought again.
Here we go.
All right. Well,
yeah.
Just get out of here.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, for sure. Exactly.